Hey everyone, welcome to Group Text. You know, in Fiddler on the Roof, the young unmarried women sing, "Find me a fine, catch me a catch." Well, a catch may be enough for Russian peasants looking to be fixed up in 1905. Patti Stanger's elite single clients are searching for a whole lot more. For decades, she's been setting up the wealthy and the beautiful who are looking for love but haven't found it yet. First on her Bravo show, Millionaire Matchmaker, and now on Patti Stanger, the Matchmaker. That's a pretty good, simple title. The show airs Thursdays at 8 p.m. on the CW. She also teaches online courses called Love and Money alongside Kathleen Cameron. Let's get started. Patti.
Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Good. We go way back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we have, if anyone ever cut us off like trees and looked at the rings, we would be laughing. So we're going to talk about the new show, The Matchmaker, in a minute. But I don't think I've ever asked you this.
What?
How did you get into the matchmaking business?
My mom and my grandmother did it in New Jersey for like the temple in Abraham, for those in Livingston. But my grandmother fixed my mother up with her first husband, and then she taught her how to get her second husband. And then like the community was going through that flux of people getting divorced, and they didn't know what to do, because if you weren't married, you were nobody then. They didn't have jobs, the women. My grandmother kind of did it. But I think there's something in my grandmother's line. When we researched Ancestry.com on the Polish side, I think she had come from a long line of people like that.
So did your grandmother charge, or is it just she was the woman at the temple?
Never charged. Got a chicken, got a dinner out, got invited to the best events.
Right, of course.
All that. Yeah, you get invited to the best events when you help the community. And I don't think maybe a sweater now and then, but I don't think she never charged. I charged, but they didn't charge. Yeah.
When did you realize you were good at this? Because setting up people is a skill.
7th grade. This is a weird story, and you're going to love this being a Jewish girl like me. So I liked the Gentile boys. Mm-hmm. And so Christ Church Dance was having this big dance, the Catholic Church. And I kind of, crashed it with my best friend Sherry, and the boys were on one side and the girls were on the other. And I was like, why isn't anybody talking to anyone? So I pulled everyone together. The priest brings me in the back, cute young priest. And he says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He says, "And you're not Catholic." Even though my biological mother is Catholic, I'm adopted. And I said, they're so hot. And I had this crush on this boy, Jimmy O'Connell. So I was like, I wanted to get in there. He said, "You were so good at this. You need to go and do this, everywhere." And he let me come to all the events. And my best friend ended up, marrying her 7th grade boyfriend.
So a priest.
Yes.
Put you in business.
A priest put me in business. And it's weird because I said I would never be a matchmaker. I introduced my best friend to her husband. Like I kind of pulled them together, they were at the event. And then when I was in my early 30s, my mother saw an After Great Expectations and said, "You need to go work for them." And I was like, I don't want to. She forced me to. So
what were you doing before that?
I wanted to get in the industry. I went to film school at University of Miami, go Canes. And I basically was a writer. That's what I was going to be, a producer writer. And then my parents had a terrible divorce. My dad stole all the money. He's a terrible alcoholic. And I had to take care of my mom. So I had to move to Manhattan, and I went in the garment center. And for 10 years, I was in the fashion industry. I sold to all the major department stores, jeans, junior jeans, to be concise. And I made a lot of money. And then the market crashed in 1989. Mm-hmm. Went to Florida, worked for GE. And then my mother threw me out of I broke up with my first fiance, and she said, "You got to go to California. Like, you need to get in the industry and do the thing you want." And I never dreamed anything like reality TV would ever happen. We never saw it coming.
No. Okay. But wait, your first fiance?
Yes. I only had 2. I had short. The one with the ring is the one that is a real one. But the first one was out of ring, and we had a very short romance. He asked me to marry him. I said yes. And it was a crash and burn situation. We were long distance. So I had like sadness in Miami when I lived there because I was trying to get away from the feelings of being broken up with. And that's when my mother said, off to California you go. She kicked me. Yeah.
So what are the benefits of
Mhm.
matchmaking? Because we talked about this a long time ago
Yes.
when you were a guest on In Bed with Joan, which was the
Yes.
internet talk show that my mom and I did from
Oh,
my
God, I
basement.
miss your mother. She was the icon of the icons.
Thank you. And that was 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah. Do you remember what she said to me? She basically said, you're a lot like me. You're too smart for men. Like we see through people. And
Right.
so I said, oh shit, I'm never going to find love. And it was like, because your mom was so honest with me. She was like, strong women like us, it's hard to find a man, and your mom was brilliant. And I'm so happy that you got engaged this year, because when you got engaged this year, I was like, oh my God, Melissa got engaged. I could get engaged too. He came up to her at an event because, when you go to events in LA, it's either married, gay, or girls. There's never a single man walking around,
Or if they are single and straight, they want someone 30 or 20.
Exactly.
25, 28 right after their divorce.
Exactly.
Then they go into like the 30s because technically that's age appropriate.
So you're giving me hope right now because I'm single right now.
Well, we're going to work on that. How has matchmaking and dating changed in the last 10 years? Because
it's been terrible. It's
a whole new world.
Well, the biology hasn't changed, just the technology. The problem is men are very scared to ask women out. I was just talking about the New York Post about this, page 6. It's like the Weinstein effect was great on the predator side, but it affected men being very timid, very passive. Like they think they need permission to ask you out. We're not only asking permission for sex. We're not asking permission to say, would you like to go get a drink? And the old school meeting at a restaurant, a bar, I don't know if that's the Ozempic effect, but all over this nation, I've traveled this last year and nobody's going out. Like nobody's going to restaurants and staying at a bar and seeing somebody and walking over. Nobody is doing it. 3 years ago, about 4 years ago, I went to London to date for 2 weeks. I went to go visit my friends in London and we saw so many cute guys. And I said, why isn't anybody coming over to us? We were at Annabelle's, like the Soho House of London.
Yeah. And Annabelle's is
walked over. Nobody.
Right.
And I said, why? And they go, they need to be like, not just invited, they need somebody to introduce you. I'm like, why does anybody meet anyone? So this whole, like, I'm the guy, you're the girl. A lot of girls are going into men's DMs, asking Matt. We just saw Keanu Reeves' girlfriend asking him to marry her, him asking him to marry her. So the men are becoming women and the women are becoming men. And that is the problem.
Your new show.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. You're with Nick from The Bachelor, and you explore what we were just talking about, which is the pitfalls of modern dating.
Correct.
So explain the show, because it's not like your old show.
No, Millionaire Matchmaker is amazing. It's on Netflix right now. You can watch it there. But this show is like 18 or 80, doesn't matter how old you are. Teenagers will watch it even. We're going to break your patterns. You keep dating the same person over and over again. They just look differently. And it's usually attachment styles and childhood wounds. And we don't have time for 20 years in therapy. So we break them. We give you a task and off you go to your date. But your date may not be the one. Your date might be just tipping your little pinky toe into the deep end of the pool, because a lot of people haven't dated. They were stuck in COVID. They are out of practice. They're rusty. And more importantly, they don't think love's out there for them. There's a lot of no hope out there. People have lost hope.
You brought up, because you talk about practice dating. And I used to say that all the time. When you get out of a relationship, you have to kind of just say yes, because you need to practice dates. And you don't want to be practicing on a date that might be legitimate. I mean, I hate to say that. I've gone on a number of practice dates, getting
But has
before
the
I
practice
got
date,
together.
has a practice date turned into any of the boyfriends that you have?
No.
Okay. All right. Then
I've only done practice dating when I got out of longer term relationships, so I could remember how to do it.
That's good. And you know, my Pat Ellen was my mentor, and she called it duty dating. Like you're just basically dating, showing up and getting in your feminine, learning how to maybe get a little more subtle, more a little softer, more slower, and then letting guys like you, which is something that we need to do because we're going at work, raising children, you know, busy, 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 and that's very masculine energy.
So in the show, the episode I watched, you set up Gigi from Shaws of Sunset.
Correct.
How is it different when you're working with a client that's famous?
Well, not only that, Gigi's my friend, and so are Reza. So it's not just famous, it's friendship famous. It was tough. Look, it's a TV show. That guy may not be the one, but that guy was going to break her because she hasn't been on a date in like 12 years since her, you know, breakup with her husband. And so she's afraid. She has lots of fear. How do I act? She's very self-conscious. Like Reza is married. Reza was like, we need to just push her into the pool. And
I love Reza.
Yeah, Reza's the best. He's
the best.
He's one of the best people to hang out with because he's very much like me. You know, like he's a Leo, I'm a Gemini. We like totally go at it. But Gigi was terrified. You know, she was terrified. And I didn't want her to say, like, I'm going to get you the one, because that's not what the show's about. I want you to get on the apps 20%. I want you to go to an event 20%. Take the dog to the dog park 20%. And start flirting. What happened to flirting? You know, again, we're scared to flirt.
But do you think a lot of that is because of social media? Do you think a lot of that is because it's much easier to flirt or be provocative when you're just texting or DMing? And then you get there in person and you're like, oh.
Well, I think we've forgotten what it's like to actually have a guy like you and you get to be all giddy. And that's kind of where it loses its luster, because if you're so detached, I mean, there are people in relationships for 2-3 years. I wish Catfish would do a show on this, where they've never met, but they're in a relationship because they FaceTime or WhatsApp. Could you imagine that? Like, oh,
No.
I've been with him for 3 years, but I've never met him in person. And you have to use all the senses for you to actually be in a relationship. I do not count that as a relationship, by the way. That's like a pen pal, you know?
Yeah.
And so people are not doing that. Like when you were telling the story about your fiance, he came right up to you at an event. That's a very much alpha move. Where are the other men that do that? I'm calling, sounding the alarm. So that's kind of like, how do I stay in my feminine if he's not in his masculine? And Nick's fiance, she went in his DMs. She dated him through the DMs, and she lived on one side of the country and he lived on the other. And she gave him an ultimatum. Now she was half his age and he was worried about it, but they're together, they're getting married, they just had a baby, and it works out in certain cases. You know, certain big age groups. I'm not a big fan of big age differences because you're going to go through different stages of life together, but sometimes it works out. And like Kristen Cavallari having fun with the Montana boys, Mark.
Yeah.
I've heard for a while. I don't know if it's going to last, but if, you know, men have done it for years.
So annoying. So, but here's the thing. And you started to bring this up. Steve is 62.
That's great.
He is an adult. He is from a different generation where you do go up to someone and talk to them.
Correct.
So much of it is, you know, you don't know what to say to your, you know, I'm one of those people that like my friends' kids ask me for advice. And I'm, you know, I find myself at a loss other than never believe the person you first meet. Because, and I say this about relationships, you meet the representative. The first 3.5 months, I would say, are like a best of album.
It could be even 6 to 9 now because of narcissism.
Yeah, it's like a best of album. What can you do? I mean, are there tips you can look for or things that you ignore as red flags in the beginning that we should be aware of? And these are all things you deal with in the show because you actually deal with the emotional side very heavily. Like you said, you break people of bad habits.
Yes. First is, are they going to do what they say when they say they're going to do it? Like, are they going to call on a Thursday at 7 and they call on a Thursday at 7? Are they giving you Saturday night? Because if they're giving you Saturday night, you are now in girlfriend, boyfriend lane. Okay. Saturday night is really the night that they could sleep in on Sunday. This is the one night of the week they don't have anything going on. Okay. So those are two things. The other thing is, how do they handle conflict? My favorite one, rage, screaming, angry, or maybe they run, or maybe they stonewall you. You don't know. But if they're not an adult to say, hey, listen, you did something at that party the other night. You kind of said something kind of embarrassed me. Can we sit down and talk about that? I don't really want that to happen again, and have a, conversation. But if they don't, that's what you're getting. And people ignore red flags based on sexual chemistry.
Which is a very good friend of my mother's once said to me, you better like the person, because within the first year, it's not about the chemistry. It's not about what you can do in bed anymore. You better wake up and like the person.
Exactly. And also, if you're putting his needs first, then he needs to put yours. So I would say two givers need to get together to learn how to receive. Two takers need to get together to learn how to give.
You work in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Dating in LA and New York is very different. In your major metropolitan areas, it's very different. LA's brutal.
Brutal.
Why?
Well, we have everybody who's the prettiest person in the United States comes here. That's number one. They all want to be famous, whether they want to be in front of the camera or behind the camera. They want to be in this industry. And there isn't a Wall Street where you go, okay, I didn't make it at 30. I got to get a real job. You get men that are living in Venice at 60 with, 3 roommates and driving a scooter. So there's a lot of delayed adolescence, What do they call that? That TV show, I can't think of the name of it, but it's called delayed adolescence.
Yeah. By the way,
Arrested development. Yeah, a lot of arrested development. And then you have, as you age, you're aging. You're no longer valuable. Who said so? Because in the old days, if you hit 40, you didn't get a part in a movie anymore if you were a woman. So then you have all these things going on in your head, and then the insecurity, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. The mantra starts playing, and then people don't connect, they don't look at you. You go to, what was that Hot in Cleveland show, Hot in Cleveland? Yeah. So you go to a place like Cleveland, and you think you're so fat and ugly in LA, and then you go, oh my God, 5 guys just hit on me. I go to Chicago, and I'm ravishing there. You know what I mean? So it's that sort of thing. It really messes with your head is really what it does.
So the people you find for your show, do they know that a lot of this is going to be tough love? And then I have a second question on that, which is, who's easier, or is it to get through with tough love than men or women? I find men are much more resistant to original change than women, where women are more...
Men are the easiest people to fix up. Just keep the train moving till I hit. Women want to complain till the cows come down. And I have to get off the phone and go, I got to get to work. Then they threaten to sue. They're the suers in our industry. That's why nobody really wants to take women on.
What do they have to sue for?
They want that. You didn't give me what I said, blah, blah, blah. What it usually is, I like the guy and the guy didn't like me. I just was talking about this in the car today. I gave an A-list sports guy to a girl. And the guy, it was during COVID, and she took pictures like this, so you didn't see her bottom half of her body. And she was a little chunky monkey in the bottom. He didn't want it. He was very nice, gave her lots of gifts. We're talking Birkins, Rolexes, very wealthy, one of the billionaires that I'm talking about. Wow. And she became friends with him, but she was so angry. And she thinks I destroyed the relationship. No, he likes these sportsy girls. And you shouldn't have lied about. She was like, I am a size 2, and she was a size 6. You know what I mean? It was one of those. But she lied, and she got busted, and then she blamed me. Now,
well, how was it your fault?
Yeah, because he didn't like her. I should have made him like her. People are delusional. Now, you don't get that with men. Men go, okay, it didn't work out. What do you got? What else you got? What else you got? So they're really easy. It could take 2-3 years for a woman to hit when you take a woman as a client on. That's why the specialists in our industry charge over $100,000, because it's very time consuming.
It's very hard. Is it women are pickier?
Yes.
Or is it that?
Just yes. Pickier beyond. The list is to the floor. Men are like, she's hot. I can fuck her. Let's go. That's all they care about. Women are like, oh my God, but he doesn't have this. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't go to this. He didn't pick the right restaurant. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So you've been married twice.
Who?
You.
No, I haven't been married at all.
Or you've been in 2 major relationships?
I've been way more than, I just got out of a serious relationship right before I shot the show. And nobody knows they're getting tough love because they didn't know the format. Next year they'll know.
Right.
It's not like Millionaire Matchmaker. I'm not really in your face. I'm doing this like kind of healing. I'm like a healer. I call myself a spiritual scientist because I'm healing them from the wounds, and I have wounds just like them.
I was gonna say, did this come from? It comes from personal experience.
Yes, way personal experience.
Do you feel so much more personally exposed of you as a person on this show?
Well, what's really weird is during COVID, before we went dark in March, I was with TNT, HBO, and I was doing a show with Scout, who did Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and it was 25 men and me. And I was terrified, and I was not in a good place, and I didn't really want to do it because when I sold the show that I was doing to TNT, it was a completely different show. They changed it. And I really wanted to work with Doug at Evolution and do like a single show of my friends going out and dating. And they flipped the script. And I had an anxiety attack. I think I kind of pushed it away, or COVID did. And then the network, everybody got fired and whatnot. And I said to CW, what should we do as a cliffhanger? And they said to me, we want to fix you up. And I had just come off a breakup. I was in the worst place, and I was so focused on the client. But we didn't end up doing that because we couldn't find the right guy. It was short window for casting. We will, if I'm single next season, I'll do it. I will throw my head in the ring, like the mixer I did on Millionaire Matchmaker. But hopefully, I won't be single because I have my matchmaker friends trying to fix me up right now.
That's what I was going to say is, who sets you up?
Right. Nobody sets me up. Like, nobody comes into my DM. So, gentlemen, the DMs are open. I'm always fixing everybody else. There's so many women, A-list to D-list, that are calling me right now. Like, Jennifer Aniston did not call me. I'd love to be her friend because she's very spiritual like me, but she got somewhere on the carpet a couple of weeks ago. And she said, I'm in 7 years of dating hell. She knows it. Sharon Stone knows it. I mean, the list is to the floor that I could read off to you, who A, have never been married, B, can't find the right one. They have money, success, smart, single moms. Like, it's awful out there. So I go, God, if she can't find anyone, like what happened to Sandra Bullock, like I cried my eyes out for her. Right. And I know her because she was my waitress when she was a young girl. Like she wasn't famous yet. She did the $1 Billion Woman. That's what I remember. And I said, how is this happening? Where are the men? Like, we all would take a valley guy, Melissa, like a nice guy in Calabasas who has a house and drives an SUV. Kids are maybe in college or whatever. Where are they? We don't know where they are. They're not calling me, so I don't know where they are.
What's interesting that you just brought up, and I've always sort of had this observation, that there is a whole generation of famous women that have not had successful relationships, that are not married, that have fallen into this sort of no man's land.
Yes.
And it's, and then you see one or two finally connect, and they usually connect with the people you don't expect.
Right.
Like Cameron Diaz.
Like I think that fate intervened with you. So let me ask you a question. I was working with Vicki Gunnarsson, and we're good friends. She's on the show this season. And Steve was destroying her on the girls' trip. And Jill calls me up and she's like, you got to help Vicki. She won't get out of bed. Dorinda's freaking out. I go, give me the phone. I go, what the hell's going on? She goes, I can't. He's got engaged to this young girl. I'm freaking out. I said, well, you don't want him anyway. You're not dating up. You're not leveling up, which you and I talk about all the time. Equal or better, right? So she goes home. She writes the list, everything she wants, to the cowboy boots, to like line dancing, a boat, the whole enchilada. She meets Kelly for dinner. Kelly introduced her to Mike, who built Little Nell. My best friend used to date Mike, by the way. So he's a good guy. And they end up together. And I said, what did you do in that moment? Because that's what I'm teaching in my course. And she goes, I decided you were right. No more dating down. I need a guy that will level up. Now, Mike's a great guy. Okay. Marisol, I did the same thing with. I said, you were in the worst place when you met your husband. What happened? She goes, I think my mom sent him to me when she died, cracking the ceiling. So what did you do? Because that was fate. You were at the event. He walked over. I want to know what you did.
What did I do? I figured anyone who had the guts to come up to me was worth at least a dinner or a drink. I said, coffee or a drink. He's like, I prefer dinner.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, but what were you thinking that a guy, like, what were you in that moment, like, I'm going to meet the guy any minute, or were you like negative, he doesn't exist?
I was in it's never going to happen. It's never going to exist. Make peace with that. Wow. I was always going to be, the single one. I had started to accept that as that was my fate.
Because that's kind of like we're in the place I'm in right now. Okay, I've done it all. I'm too old. You get to that. Like, I'm the same age as your fiance. So you get to a place and you're like,
you look much better than him.
Oh, you were so
but that's because you use
Rivers joke. That is a Joe Rivers joke.
Well, because you use skincare. I finally got him like having a skincare routine because he's at that age. Men didn't do that.
You should take the laser.
We're working our way slowly
but surely. Oxygen facial.
Yeah, we're tiptoeing towards that. I at least now have him washing his face with something other than the bar soap in the shower and using moisturizer. I just gave him a sample of a serum.
Oh my God, you're really on your way now. That's like on your way. That's serious on your way.
Yeah, I'm slowly crawling him there. So then I don't even know why I said I'd go out. I think I was sort of in that phase of why not and how bad could it be?
Wow.
Which we know is really bad. I mean, I've faked phone calls to go places. I used to be like, oh my God, the babysitter has to leave. That doesn't work now. He's in college. And the first
That's
date,
like my favorite thing, or like my favorite is I'm shooting. I have to leave. There's an emergency on set.
Yeah,
that's like because I could use I was shooting around the corner from all my dates. Okay, I gotta go.
Yeah. That's always a good one. The babysitter was always a good one. I had defaulted to, oh my God, I have a friend. There's a massive emergency. I'm so sorry. And I would fake that the phone rang, dig it out of my purse. Oh my goodness, I'm buzzing. You know what I mean?
I don't know what's happening, right?
Yeah. And you pull your hair kind of in front so they can't see it's not actually calling anyone. Yeah, exactly.
Or you go to the bathroom, you come back. I just got an emergency thing, right?
Yes.
It's like
so what happened? I said, okay. I still to this day don't know why, other than it was like, why not?
But maybe like you might have developed a friendship. Like that's another thing. My mother used to say that your best friend is usually your lover and your husband if you will let it transpire, because that's the person you're going to depend on anyway. If God forbid you're in an emergency situation, and you got to have the friendship factor. We talk about that a lot.
Okay, so you'll appreciate this. So I pull up to the restaurant because no one's driving me anywhere until at least the third or fourth date. I need to have my escape. And I pull up and he's out front. He's on time out front. And for some reason that night, the valet didn't show up at the restaurant.
Right.
So everyone had to park at the restaurant across the street. So he tells me this. I say, okay. Now I'm looking and I'm like looking from the top down. I'm like, oh, cute sweater, cute shirt, cute jeans. The worst shoes I have not ever seen, but really bad shoes.
But you changed him because I saw you at the airport and he had cute sneakers on.
Yeah, well,
I saw his old little outfit, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I do a good job.
You did a good makeover. Yeah.
So, but I just remember thinking, oh my God, he's got these horrible shoes. So I make a U-turn. I go to park across the street and I get out of the car and he had walked across the street to walk me back over.
See, is he Jewish?
No.
Not Jewish?
No.
Wow. He was raised right.
Yeah.
That's good etiquette.
Yeah.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah, very much so. And then we had a nice dinner and, I say what I would always say, which he took as a good sign, not knowing that that was just what I would say, which is, this was so much fun. Let's try and connect again at some point. And he didn't like texting. He actually liked speaking. And he called and I agreed to a second date. Again, I don't know why. There was no cognitive
maybe
thought.
Because you were so relaxed.
Maybe. But he wore good
shoes.
He luckily for him had on good shoes the second date.
Was he interesting and fun on the date?
Enough.
Enough. Look at you.
Enough.
Wait, what sign are you? I don't remember.
I am Capricorn in the window where it changes to Aquarius.
Oh, you're on the cusp. I'm like your mom. We're both Geminis.
I know y'all are crazy. You all ain't stable people.
What was the ex-husband? What was the ex-husband?
No, not Jewish either.
No. Sign. What's his sign?
Oh, it was just his birthday. I don't know what he was.
Oh, so Aries?
Yeah.
Well, and what is this one? What's Steve's?
Gemini.
Oh, you're gonna have fun with that. What day? Do you know what day?
June. Wait, my mom is the 8th. He is the 10th.
Okay, that's my grandmother's birthday.
Because I always have to remember because I can't remember if he's 2 days before my mom or 2 days after my mom.
Gemini and Capricorn are fun together. Yeah. And my first fiance was Capricorn. It was a very sexy relationship, sexy relationship.
Oh,
yeah.
So I decided to go out on the second date. He luckily had on good shoes.
Got it.
And so I had more fun. We could laugh at the same things, and he laughed at things I said. Like he didn't.
That made you feel good.
Yeah. And then we went on a third date, and I noticed.
Did he tell you you're pretty? Did he like give you compliments and stuff like that?
I don't think so. I don't think
he might have. You don't remember.
Maybe. But then my third date, I let him pick me up. I found myself really anxious and nervous. And I'm like, oh, I need to think about this. And then my best friend said I had to call her. My best friend said I had to call her from when I got in the car.
Got it.
Call her when I got to the restaurant. Call her when I got back in the car, and call her when I get home.
Got it.
And I told him this ahead of time. I'm like, I'm going to have to make a bunch of phone calls. And he thought it was hilarious. He thought
he wanted you. He made the decision. He went after you. Yeah. And you had no choice because he was getting you. Yeah. That's how guys operate, by the way, FYI.
I wouldn't kiss him.
How many days did it take you to kiss him?
4, I think.
Wow,
we joked because he kept going in for it, and I kept like bobbing and weaving because I didn't know, how I felt about it. But yeah, and what you bring up is very, very interesting in the sense of we fight well.
Well, like there's vicious below the belt, as Dr. Phil would say, and then there's like normal fighting. Everybody does that. If you don't have that, you're going to have an issue later.
Right, but we work through it really well.
Right.
Like it's a compatible style. Recently, a lot of people, and this actually, I hear this coming up in discussion all the time. They've been a lot more willing to discuss, open marriages and looking to become a throuple. Has anyone come to you and said, yes, I'm in an open marriage or I want to become a throuple? Yes. Help me. How do you do that?
They say no. I don't do it. I don't do arrangements, like seeking arrangement. I don't do the girlfriend experience. I don't do throuples. I don't do anything weird. I'm not a weird person. Long time ago, Ashley Madison came to me. They're a very wealthy company. They own several websites. They wanted me to take several of their websites and turn it into a dating app site. And I said, no. And then they had the audit with what happened to them. I don't play like that. I'm a very old school relationship marriage kind of company.
You are, but that's who you are too.
Yes,
which is interesting.
I said I'm not going to jail for anybody. Like I remember Heidi Fleiss went on Howard Stern and they said, "What would you do differently?" And she said, "I'd become Patti Stanger, the Millionaire Matchmaker, because she sells legal sex." To Howard, she said that, and then everybody was like, "Oh, that's true." I said, "Yeah, because I don't arrange your date for you to do XYZ. I had one time a very famous person take 3 or 4 girls, I didn't know right away at the time, different times, to a swingers club in Orange County. This is the days when I don't even think, it might have been a BlackBerry era. And I said, if I hear this again, you're out of the club. And this person could have destroyed me, like a very famous A-list person. And I yelled at him, I screamed at him, and I said, "You need therapy." A year later, he called me up. I said, "Can I have my membership back?" I said, "Why? I don't want you taking a girl to this club." He said, I was in therapy and I realized I'm wounded and I had to work on that. And I promise you, you can get a doctor's note. I won't do this again.
Interesting.
And that person is powerful in Hollywood, like powerful. And I was scared. I thought my company was going to go away.
Mm-hmm. What red flags make you turn a client away, both male and female?
Number one, anger, rage, which by the way happens online. I was on Bumble. I don't know, maybe my age wasn't 100% my age, like maybe 4 or 5 years off or something, which we all do. And he goes, you say you come as advertised. And he started raging to the floor. Now, normally I would have sent it to the Bumble police because I don't trust when they rage. And I just deleted and blocked, which I'm a big fan, delete and block. Let it go. Let them scream at somebody else. It's not your job. Rage. Number two, cheap. I hate cheap.
Cheap is bad.
The worst. Cheap is like like if you're handling me with me, that means you're going to be bad with the girl or the guy, right? Gay or straight, it doesn't matter. And the third thing is flaky behavior. Like we have a time to talk and we're going to either go over coaching or you're signing up or whatever. And you start disappearing me and I have to chase you down. Then you blame me. You're not getting girls or guys. And then you flake on them. It's like trickles down. So those are the three main things I don't deal with. And of course, like a background check. Like I don't do full-ons. I use Spokio, and I tell them if you want a background check on anyone that you're going on a date with, you have to pay your private investigator. But there is an app called Spokio. I work with them a lot. They do a pretty decent job, and they'll tell me if someone's been arrested or they have restraining orders. But we don't get everything. So, like if somebody raped someone, God forbid, and they didn't get arrested for it. I can't know that, you know what I mean? Unless somebody does that. There is a new site, Are We Dating the Same Guy? And this guy is suing these girls for bad reviews on dating. And it is a great site because when you look on there in LA, I looked at the LA version, like they're all dating the same guy. And the guy's like, a scammer, he's like that dirty John. So it is a good protection vehicle because women must be protected. In order for us to date, we must feel safe. Safety is our key. Like you said, I felt anxious. I didn't feel safe because that's what you really were saying to yourself. Anxious is safety.
Yeah, I was anxious because all of a sudden I realized that maybe I was glad I was going on a third date. I also, that same night, getting ready, I was on the phone and I literally was putting on mascara and stabbed myself in the eye with the mascara wand.
That's wild. Wow.
So I had all big one red eye. Your new course online, you're teaching it with Kathleen Cameron called Love and Money. Number one, where do you find it? And number two, what is it?
You can go to my Instagram and in my Socio tab, you can click the link there. It'll be easier that way. Basically the course is like Kathleen went from like, I don't know, couple 100,000 a year to like 10 million in 1 year. She just went whoop like that. And she's a major manifesting expert in money. I also am too, but she really is the bar. And then we became friends and she said, let's do a course together because she wanted me to teach love. She's single. So we banded together. You can opt in anytime. Next week is the VIP course. You have to spend a little bit more money, but we still are open for enrollment on the regular version. I will be doing it live once a week. You will be able to ask me questions. I give homework. I give you exercises and things to do. It is very spiritual, metaphysically driven with a large sense of science. Neuroscience. How does the brain operate? Why do we think what we think? So I have a lot of that. It's not just woo-woo, he, she, spray some sage. It's nothing like that. And the techniques work because we get feedback every day. I just did this just now. It worked. So it's fun. It's my first course. I'm kind of excited. It's like masterclass. I've always wanted to do masterclass. And so, yeah.
I love playing games, especially with people that I know.
I'm with Andy right now. I'm going to be terrified.
This is easy.
Okay.
This came up after spending the last couple weekends with my son, who's 23, and
he's gorgeous, by the way. Gorgeous.
Thank you. He's at Berkeley, and so we've called this game "What the fuck is Gen Z talking about when they talk about love?"
Okay, go.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some acronyms. See what you think. What is ILY?
I love you?
Yes.
Okay, that was a guess.
Okay. Sigma.
I don't I don't know. There's the Sigma alpha male, and I don't know what that means. So I don't know.
You're on it though. Sigma, unlike an alpha male, the Sigma is quiet and independent.
Right. Because a lot of people say you need a Sigma. I hear that all the time. Okay.
Cuffing season.
Well, cuffing is really cuddling and getting nesting and getting in the house and, really getting into it like that. Mm-hmm.
But what specifically is cuffing season?
I guess what, you got engaged or something? I don't know.
No, it's winter.
Oh, it's winter. Oh, okay. I didn't get it. Okay.
Breadcrumbing.
Oh, breadcrumbing, that's easy. Breadcrumbing is when you just give a taste to a person to keep bringing them back, but then you drop them. You're constantly dropping them. So breadcrumbing comes from Hansel and Gretel. Like, we have to find the house. So it's like every time you think he comes forward and he likes you, he disappears again. So annoying.
I love this one. Sneaky link.
I don't know that one.
Someone you're hooking up with without anyone knowing.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Okay. DTR.
DTR. I don't know. Do you know what DTR is? I have a Gen Zer. He doesn't know.
Okay. Define the relationship. It comes after the talking phase where feelings are expressed and when two people decide to make it official.
Oh my God, they make this so complicated.
They do.
Seriously.
Okay, last one. Benching.
I know this one. That's when you put the person on hold, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like kind of mean because you're trying to bigger, better deal. That's basically our version of bigger, better deal.
Right. Or what I like to call best offer Barbie.
Best offer, yeah. Same thing. We have different words, but they're basically the same stuff. I mean, come on, watch my assistant is watching Sex and the City for the first time because it's on Netflix. It's her favorite show. And she's like, I love this show. They're all watching it and like learning what it was like for us to date.
Well, Patti, I love you. And I'm going to work on finding you someone.
Okay.
Well, before I let you go, what are your non-negotiables?
Well, he needs to have money at this point because I've dated so down. I like a guy who's athletic and, guy hits the gym and stuff like that because I'm super into wellness. I eat really clean. I work out. Somebody makes me laugh and somebody who's got a good job. Maybe kids are in college or grown or whatever. I'm older now. So, but I go 50s and 60s. I'm easy. Really. Tall. I'm 5'7.5". So that's
okay.
Why. Yeah.
Patti, I love you so much. Patti Stanger, the Matchmaker, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on the CW and the online course, Love and Money, KathleenCameronOfficial.com/Love and Money. Patti, all my love.
You are my hero.